makers, I'm Joe, and today I want to talk to you again about the TronXy X5S. By popular demand, I decided to do a follow-up video and show you guys what I did to get this printer printing. Now, before I actually get to how I got it to print these things, I want to talk about a couple of things. First off, I have never, in the year and a half I've been doing this, ever gotten so much hate out of some of the community in comments about an unbiased review. I've been accused of doing a biased review of this printer simply because I mentioned the shortfalls of it. So I wanted to just clear out a few things. When I get a printer, as a reviewer, my job is to review the printer as it comes, assembled as per the instructions provided. Once I do all that, then my experience has kind of been set in the construction part of the phase. Then I need to print something, then print a lot of things just to see what the printer is capable of. However, in this printer, it came out of the factory with the current pods on the stepper motors all the way turned down, so there pretty much was no current, and therefore I constantly kept getting layer shifts. Now, I got a lot of people hating on me because I should have known, and the truth is, in a year and a half I've been doing this, this was the first time ever that I've ever had to adjust current on stepper motors for a kit out of the box. Now, with companies like Zonestar, you actually have in the instruction manual a way to check whether or not your stepper motors have enough torque, and they tell you how to fix the stepper pods, how to adjust them, how to calculate the current, everything. This obviously does not, and therefore I had to review based on that. I have also never had to delete so many hateful and cruel comments off a review and being accused of doing a biased review simply because I didn't say that this is the greatest 3D printer under $300, or as someone mentioned, that this has the best electronics that they've ever seen, which I assure you, that's a lie. The ironic part is that a lot of the people that told me that I was being biased about this printer also mentioned what I should look into: the bed, the CoreXY configuration, because it's incorrect out of the factory. They also told me, oh yeah, by the way, that's a 24 volt heat bed on a 12 volt system. That is why it's not heating up. But that's okay. Make sure you check the power supplies because sometimes they wire them incorrectly. And it amazed me at how could this be okay with so many people. Now, if you guys want the actual review of the printer, my initial review, you can find the link over here. That's not going to change. That's my initial review. It's my opinion. Unlike Maltese politicians, just because my opinion is not popular, it doesn't mean I'm going to change it. But for the sake of those who still will buy this based on reviews of others, which I have seen, most of those reviews mentions some of the problems. A lot of those reviews print a couple small things just to print something and say that this is the best 3D printer out there, to promote the 3D printer. I choose to do extended reviews with at least 100 hours of 3D printing on a machine before I set out a full review. So as I said, today I'm going to show you guys what I did to be able to print with this. So first thing I did was adjust the current on the X and Y because they're pretty much were all the way turned down, so there was no current on the stepper motors. Now, I could give you some awesome calculation on how to do this, but the truth is I did that based on feel. So I was adjusting the pod slightly and then using my fingers to kind of pull on the belt as it was homing to see how much strength I needed to put into it in order for the stepper motors to skip. When I saw that it was homing properly and it needed quite a bit of tension to skip, I was happy with the result. Next, I put the CR10S's glass on the heat bed because I wanted something level. The sheet, kind of like a Perspex thick PI sheet that comes from the factory, tends to bend quite a little bit and it takes the shape of the aluminium heat bed, and that's definitely not straight, so I had to use a piece of glass. Next, I printed some parts for the CoreXY in order to align the belts, because out of the factory the belts are not aligned in any corner of the CoreXY. This will result in uneven dimensional accuracy. So if you want this machine to be precise, then you will have to change the whole CoreXY configuration. There are links in the video description of what parts you will need to print, what things you will need to buy in order to make sure that all the belts are completely aligned. As for the heat bed, as I mentioned, the reason why it doesn't heat up past 59 degrees is because it's a 24 volt heat bed, which is supplied by the factory on a 12 volt system. So if you want to print with higher temps on this, you either need to change the system to a 24 volt or else change the heat bed to a 12 volt. Now, a friend of mine, Eddie Moser, is actually coming up with a way to spend possibly no more than 200, 250 bucks to actually get this machine into a beast, because you can change the heat bed to a silicone, update it to a 24 volt power supply, change the electronics, put an enclosure, change the extruder, and it could be a great machine. And that is something a lot of people have missed, I think. I said that this is a great base for a good printer once you tune it and change a few parts. But that seems to have been missed, and instead people just jumped onto the hate train. Having said all that, I have some prints to show you guys, and I wanted to do a few different things. So the first thing I did was I put a vase in Pro de Pasta High 5 Blue. That took about, I think about 55 hours to print. I wanted to print it slow. I wanted to see how the printer will perform on an extended period of time. Unfortunately, in about the last 5 layers, the Bowden tube came out of the extruder. I'm going to say that that is my fault because I changed it to a Capricorn tube in order to give it its best shot at producing nice prints. However, up until that point, the print quality is actually quite decent, and that's something I've already said. It produces nice prints. It just needs tuning in. And if you want to print more materials, then you simply have to upgrade quite a few things. I threw in some Printer Pro PLA purple, and I finally finished the faceless model, which turned out great. The uneven layers that you see on the print, that's not Z-banding. Those are simply artifacts of what happens when you don't completely fine-tune retractions and coast and extra start distance. So what will happen is when a layer finishes and another one is about to start, you have more extrusion due to pressure in the nozzle than the rest of the prints. After fine-tuning that, I decided I wanted to print something functional. So I printed Spanner Hands spool holder. Now this comes in several parts. I printed this in Kodak PLA Plus for the white. I used translucent green from a Printer Pro for the green parts. I used Matter Hacker's TPE to print the hinge. Yes, I actually managed to print with TPE. Most printers can print flexible as long as you print slow enough. The only difference is I had to use Magic Glue in order to make sure that the TPE stuck to the bed because I wasn't using any heat bed. And for the seal, for this seal right here, which is a flexible seal, I used a Fiberlogy Fiberflex 40D, which is an incredibly nice filament to print with, flexible. It's quite rubbery, not too tough, but not too soft, and makes for a great seal because it's quite squishy. As for dimensional accuracy, it actually printed quite well. These have bearings inside, so the filament spool can turn freely, and it fits perfectly fine. So once you put the spool in there, this will turn without a problem. Everything else closes, TPU works, and that's that. So just to reiterate what I've already said in my initial review, out of the box as a kit, it's not exactly a good kit. It needs quite a few iterations. I personally, find it unacceptable that a company should send a 24 volt heat bed with a 12 volt power supply. It does not make any sense. As for the CoreXY is great. It can produce faster prints. But if you're going to do a CoreXY, at least make sure the belts are aligned properly. And therefore, more work is going to be needed there by the people that buy it in order to make it work properly. What a lot of people didn't understand is that this is being marketed at those people who do not want to spend a lot of money on their first 3D printer. So they might not have the experience needed in order to get this to work properly. And what will happen is these people will go on YouTube, they will find the video that says this is the best 3D printer under $300, or that this has the best electronics, or this is a great machine and everything, without telling or saying anything about the shortfalls. That person or that kid is going to go to his parents and going to say, "Oh, hi, Dad, let's get this printer because this is the best 3D printer out there." They're going to get this machine and he's going to be extremely disappointed and he's going to give up on 3D printing. And that is not what I want this community to be about. So I'm going to leave it at that. As of now, any hateful comments, I'm just not going to reply. That's not the way to get my attention anymore. I'm just going to delete them because I'm all about positivity. I want to promote this community. I want to promote this hobby, and showing hate for being honest or doing an unbiased review, it was just heartbreaking to me. And I spent about a week and a half not uploading videos because it really bugged me. And I really did not expect that out of the community. However, if there are any hateful comments on this video, I'm actually going to remove them. I'm not even going to reply to them because I'm not about instilling hate. You know, if you have constructive criticism to give me, by all means, I'll take it. I always want to improve my content. But insulting me, threatening me, I mean, come on. Over a 3D printer review? So that is it for me, guys. If you have any questions, not insults, leave them in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, and as always, happy making, guys.